Welcome back to the show. Well, the Gold Coast plays an integral role in Queensland harness racing, and one trainer based on the glitter strip is Bruce Birch. Chris Barsby caught up with him recently.
Today we're on a mission. I want to find out about Bruce Birch, widely recognised as an international man of mystery. So we've come to the Gold Coast to find out a little bit more about Bruce Birch, and I'm sure we might even be able to catch up with his trusty sidekick, Nudge. Bruce, appreciate your time today.
No worries, thanks Chris, thanks for having me on your show.
Bruce, you originally hailed from New Zealand. What part of New Zealand did you come from?
From the North Island. I did my apprenticeship basically with John Butcher and David Butcher, and hard old school John Butcher was, but good fair man, and taught you right from the get-go. Yeah.
How did you become involved in harness racing? Because there's no real family background with the horses, so how did you find your way into a harness racing stable?
Yeah, I actually started working with Graham Rogerson just on the other side of Hamilton. My dad took me over there and said, well, if you're not going to stay at school, you're better off doing something that you're not going to need to read and write with. So he took me straight over to Graham Rogerson. I was over there for about 12 months, realised I was probably going to be a little bit too big to ride horses. Probably more of a dream of my dad's than myself at the start. And then we decided to go over and see the Butchers and see if I could get a job, and it sort of took off from there.
How long were you with the Butchers in total?
About 5.5 years, yeah. No, it was really good. They were great people to work for. Great people.
They've had some good horses. David Butcher is considered to be the leading driver in New Zealand. Are you surprised by the success that he's had in recent times?
No, not at all. David's a good, calm driver. If you sort of take note of all the good drivers, they all are very easygoing people, very relaxed. They don't stress about big races, and if the runs come, they come. If they've got the right horse, they make the runs happen. But if they haven't, they seem to be in the right place at the right time, because they're not flustered when they're out there. They just, as I say, they take it within stride. And David's very, very laid back, so it doesn't surprise me at all that he's a good driver. Okay,
so you've started your apprenticeship. You've done your apprenticeship with the Butchers in New Zealand. When did you make the trip across the ditch and become an Aussie?
It was a funny story. In the 5 years that I was working for Butchers, I actually drove 4 winners. So it driving wasn't taking off for me there. The foundation was there for breaking in horses and looking after horses and things like that, but the driving of the horses wasn't too crash hot, so to speak. So then I decided when I was 21, my dad just passed away about 3 months before, and I thought, well, sort of not too much holding me back now. So I went to work for Peter Blanchard. Michael Langan was over there at the time, and I went and worked for Peter for about a couple of years.
Okay. Yeah. During that time where the results weren't coming thick and fast, did you ever consider just walking away from the sport?
Oh, actually I did. I did walk away at one stage, because I thought I'm not getting a real go here, and every go I was getting I was blowing, so things just weren't going good. But I actually did. I went and worked in a service station and poured a bit of fuel for a couple of weeks, and that was terrible. That was no fun at all.
Bruce, like a lot of Australasian horsemen, you decided to try your luck in North America. How did that all come about? Yeah,
basically once I got over there and worked for Peter Blanchard for a while, I had a 3-year stint, and I drove for a little bit for Bob Baggett, who I worked for about 12 months, and then I ended up coming back to Bendigo. I was back in Bendigo for 2 years, and realised that it's probably a better place over there. I worked for Michael Langdon in Bendigo, and had a good job there, and we had a good strike rate, and 1 and 3 that were leaving the barn were winning, so we were going pretty good. Then I just decided it wasn't for me, and I met my ex-partner at the time, and I said, well, we might as well go over there and try and save some money in America. Went back and I worked for Noel Daly. Well, Noel Daly actually just left Brett Pellings at the time, so he had a bit of foundation under him as well by working for good trainers and that. So I thought, well, he's one to jump on board with. So I went and worked for Noel Daly, and I was there for about 6 or 12 months, and I was his main rider, as foreman, so to speak. And then I started driving a couple in the trials, which they call them the qualifiers over there. And every horse I was hopping on was winning, so it was kind of like, oh, that's pretty cool. Anyway, a couple of the big drivers didn't turn up a couple of times at the Meadowlands there, and they said, oh, hey, Bruce, why don't you just jump on this horse? And it was a bit of a joke, and hey, just give him a run around and see how you go, sort of thing. And I ended up winning out of my first 11 drives at the Meadowlands 10 races. So it was kind of, and all of a sudden, once I did that, the Americans, they seemed to like someone that's running hot at the time, and the run just kept going. I thought it was more of a dream than anything else, but the horses were running for me. It felt good, it looked good, and everything was going. I just couldn't believe the run that, as I say, I was having, but I rode the wave, so to speak.
as a result of that success, you got some good opportunities behind some good horses. Just tell us about some of the better horses that you drove when you were in North America.
Yeah, I drove. There's a lot of stallions that are standing over here in New Zealand at the moment. You know, Bad Bert, Laredo, Kenny Hanover, Ambro Oliver. Yeah, I drove all those horses. They weren't superstars, but they were nice horses. I drove Bad Bert in a Breeders' Crown, $360,000 race, which was a real highlight for me. You know, big day, big event, big crowds, and it was a lot of fun. I think I had 2 other winners that day, but I run 5th or 6th on him. But yeah, drove just nice horses, no superstars or top of the top liners, but just a cut below them. Sorry.
You drove a sub 50 winner, and when you achieved that feat, that was some time ago now. So that would have been big news back then. That must have been a huge buzz for you.
Oh, it really was, and it was a mare to boot. So. It equalled the world record for the fastest mare in the world. So yeah, it was definitely a highlight, breaking 50. I won lots and lots of races in 150, but couldn't nut the 49. So that was good to do it on a mare and everything like that. But look, the fastest back in those days were 148.4 was the fastest. But I mean that was everything had to be right. The heat, the wind, the track conditions, everything had to be spot on to go that quick.
Okay, so North America was a success, but like life, it goes on. You've got a partner. You've decided to make the move back to Australia. Yes,
we come back here and we bought 3 Baker's Delights, and we're supposed to live happily ever after and give up the horses and just have a bit of a different lifestyle with the business and see how that worked for me. So we did that for 3 years. Then I missed the horses so much, I started getting 1 or 2 horses with Shane and Wayne Graham, and started driving them a little bit, and they were taking care of them for me. And then basically I slipped straight back into it and couldn't help myself, and went out to Kenny Vivas's with about 6 to 10 horses, and then now we've ended up down here in the Gold Coast with a couple of barns.
Smart trainer Bruce Birch, and we'll be back with him next Monday night in Blinkers Off. Back soon, stay with us. We'll be looking back at the highlights from Albion Park on Saturday night.